Whenever you deal with electricity, there's always a risk that something will go wrong. One of the most common problems are sudden increases in current, which we call surges. These can happen either when something changes in a circuit, like when you turn an appliance on or off, or because of a fault in the circuit or appliance. As well as damaging the actual appliance, surges can sometimes be more serious, causing fires or electric shocks. So in today's video, we're going to look at some of these safety precautions that we've developed to help us reduce these risks, including fuses, circuit breakers, earth wires, and double insulation. Fuses and circuit breakers both act in a pretty similar way, namely by breaking the circuit whenever a current gets too high. A fuse is basically a very thin piece of wire that's connected to the live wire. If there's a surge, a huge amount of current will flow through the live wire, and hence flow through the fuse. This causes the wire of the fuse to heat up really quickly, and because it's so thin, it will melt, which then breaks the circuit, meaning that no more current can flow through it. Just be aware that in real life, fuses actually come in little cases like this, with the thin wire inside the casing. We get fuses in a range of different ratings, depending on what current you want to break the circuit. For example, if you have an appliance that normally has a 3 amp current flowing through it, then you could use a 5 amp fuse, so that it only breaks when there's a surge that makes the current rise above 5 amps. On the other hand, if you had a 10 amp appliance, you might use this 13 amp fuse instead. Basically, the fuse always wants to be a couple of amps above the rating of your appliance. The benefit of fuses is that they're simple and cheap, which is why we find them in lots of individual appliances. The downside, though, is that they're permanently broken after a single surge, which means that they have to be replaced each time. Circuit breakers, in contrast, don't have these problems. They work in a similar way to fuses, in that they break the circuit whenever there's a surge. However, they don't get permanently damaged. They just get tripped and turn off the circuit. This means that they can easily be reset rather than having to be replaced. The only downside is that they're a bit more expensive than fuses. One of the main ways that surges can cause harm is that if the live wire comes loose inside an appliance, it can touch the casing. And this means that if a person touched the casing, anywhere on the appliance, they get a big electric shock. One way to prevent this is by earthing, which is where an earth wire provides an alternative pathway for the current to flow away, so that any electricity is diverted through the earth wire rather than coming through us. Another way to prevent electric shocks is to double insulate an appliance. This is where the entire appliance is covered in a plastic casing, so that there's no exposed metal parts that we can touch. And as plastic doesn't conduct electricity, we can't get an electric shock from touching it. In general, if an appliance has double insulation, then it won't need an earth wire, so it will just have a live and a neutral wire.
Domestic electric circuit. In our houses, we receive AC electric power of 220 hours with a frequency 50 Hz. One of the wires in this supply is with red insulation called live wire. The other one is of black insulation called neutral wire. The potential difference between the two is 220 volts. The third wire is green insulated called earth wire. Earth wire is connected to a metallic body deep inside the earth. It is used as a safety measure to ensure that any leakage of current through a metallic body of high-powered device flows to the earth through the earth wire. Thus, it protects our body from severe electric shock. Fuse is the important safety device used for protecting the circuits due to short circuiting or overloading of the circuit.
There's no such thing as a safe electrical shock. Even if it just feels like a little zap or buzz from plugging in the toaster or your phone charger. It may not leave a mark, but you could have long-term after effects. Electricity isn't all bad. It keeps our homes heated and our lights on. Static electricity can make your clothes stick together and your hair stand up. It's even moving inside us, helping our brain send signals to the rest of our body. We call this human voltage. It happens when you yawn, smile at a good joke, and flex those muscles in the mirror. But when electricity is introduced from an outside source, your system's balance is interrupted, like a circuit breaker being tripped. Whether you're an experienced electrician installing a new lighting system or a curious toddler poking an outlet, electricity travels through the body until it finds the fastest way out to the ground. What does that journey look like? It all depends on your body's makeup. Electricity moves easily through nerves and muscle, but not as easily through bone and fat. The longer it lingers and tries to find its exit point from the body, the higher the likelihood of serious injury and possibility of long-term after effects like numbness, pins and needles, memory loss, and chronic pain, even anxiety or nightmares. The majority of Ontarians have reported having had a low-voltage shock. Perhaps you are one of them. So, what can you do to protect yourself and loved ones? Be cautious when working with or around electrical equipment. Hire only licensed electrical contractors for electrical work. And don't brush off a shock, even if you think it's a mild one. Seek medical attention if you or someone close to you receives a shock. Visit esasafe.com for more information.